Why you should quit. Hey, my lovelies. Tonight I want to talk to you about why you should quit or consider quitting. So I know that there's a lot of negative connotations about quitting, giving up, failure, all that stuff, and that the performance gurus out there, pushing, striving for your goals, doing whatever it takes to get the goal, to get the win, to have success, whatever that means to you and all those things. And that's cool. I teach and support that too. And I also teach and support knowing when to quit. Okay. And there are times when we need to quit. And I have a few examples for you. So one of them is, I'm going to save my favorite example for last because it's the biggest example of the biggest failure because they didn't quit when they should have. So personally, right? So in a past life, I was an accountant, and I'm a trained accountant. And when I was in business school in my sophomore year, I thought, I don't want to do this. I want to be a teacher. You always end up doing what you're meant to do if you follow your heart. So like I want to be a teacher. And I thought about what that would mean, and I didn't want to start all over. And you might be thinking, Winter, you're only a sophomore. Well, the business school that I went to, they had an upside down curriculum, which is one of the reasons why I went there. So you got your core classes out in your freshman and sophomore year, so you could start working right away, right? And then in your junior and senior years, you could work professionally in your field and earn credits towards your degree. And I was all about getting out in the workforce right away. So, like I calculated what it would mean for me to leave the business degree that I was pursuing at the time and start pursuing my heart's desire, which was to teach, and I'm doing anyway. And, I decided, I didn't want to waste all that time and money that I had already put into my business degree. So I kept going. I kept going forward. And additionally, I also wanted to teach adults, right? I wanted to teach at the adult level or at the college level, I thought at the time, right? So, and that would require going to school until you're like 27, 28. I need to get a PhD. And, I didn't want to do that, right? So who knew I'd be looking back at 27 or 28 in 5 minutes, right? So, but most importantly is I didn't want to start over. I didn't want to throw away the time and money that I had already invested in my business career. And all that is supporting me now, right? That's all that business sense is supporting me now that I'm in business, right? So, and I didn't want to quit, right? I didn't want to quit. So I also had this other client some years ago who I'm going to tell you about a more recent client who was in a training environment, right? She had this career training opportunity, and it was a stepping stone to what she really wanted to do. And it was making her sick. And as a result, right, but she really didn't want to do the thing, right? She really didn't want to be in this training program that was like 2 years long, but was really going to set her up for ideally set her up for success in her long-term career goals. And so even though this program was making her miserable, and as a result she was running toxic behavior, she was having panic attacks, and she couldn't figure out why she was having the panic attacks. So she comes to me so we can get at the root cause of it. And she didn't want to let go of all the time and money invested in this training career that was going to get her, that was going to get her ahead long term in her career. Meanwhile, she's having panic attacks. So we get at the root cause. We decide that this isn't the right thing for her. We determine that this isn't the right thing for her, right? So like, and why do we keep why do we keep plugging along at the thing that doesn't feel right to us, right? Because we started it. We've got all these paradigms that say you finish what you start, right? Don't be a quitter. Don't be a loser. And, finish what you start, suck it up, push through, right? It's all this very masculine and pushing energy, right? And life is supposed to be fun. Our goals are supposed to be relatively easy and effortless if you're on the right track. That's a video for another day. Hey, if you're watching live, let me know who it is so I can say hey. And so, and you might be following the advice of someone that you love and respect and who may know a thing or two about the pursuit that you're on, and you don't want to disappoint them, right? So that was true for, my more recent clients. And I just didn't want to waste time and money when I was a girl in college. And she didn't want to waste the time and the money that she had invested to get her to where she was so far. So needless to say, she was finally able to determine that this path was not right for her. It wasn't good for her. It wasn't serving her, it was actually making her sick, i.e. the panic attacks. And once she quit, the panic attacks stopped. She had this overwhelming sense of well-being come over her, and now she's able to focus more clearly and craft a new path in a new direction for herself. I also want to tell you just one more like the biggest failure that of them all, which I did a presentation on when I was in grad school, in business grad school, because I kept perpetuating that. So, and I think, and I came up with today, I think I may have gone to graduate school just so I could be able to tell this story now. And that's the story of, and if you're just joining, we're talking about why you should quit, right? Why you may want to quit something which goes against the grain and the conventional wisdom of finish what you started, don't quit, push through, and see your goals to their completion, no matter what, right? Do whatever it takes to get your goal. And sometimes the biggest achievement and or accomplishment of them all is to admit that you're on the wrong path, you're on the wrong road on your path, and that you need to recalibrate, right? Just like the GPS does. You need to stop, say, no, I'm not going to continue down this path that I know is wrong for me, and I need to recalibrate and see what direction I need to go in now that's going to serve me and therefore everyone around me and everyone that I'm meant to serve. So the biggest colossal failure in this respect that I know of, that I learned about again in B graduate school, was of the, I want to look at my notes because I want to give you the actual facts, which are astounding, right? So the Shoreham Nuclear Power Plant in Long Island, I think it was, right? So this is a nuclear power plant that was budgeted. It was budgeted to take $75 million to complete. I want to say this is back in the 70s or 80s, 70s, I think. So $75 million to complete the program over 7 years. This project, right, had problems right from the get-go. It was not meant to be, right? And with the universe, when something is not meant to be, right, you can't make it happen. Or if you do, it's going to hurt, right? So like my client was trying to make this training program work for her, right? So $75 million. This project had problem after problem after problem right from the get-go, right? They couldn't get the local government to agree on ordinances and permits, delays, and more money. There were union issues, right, with the workers, more delays and more money. Weather got in the way, and then there was trouble securing and getting the financing for the project. More delays, and over, right, 7 years it was supposed to be. So over the course of the project, right, leadership is looking at the project and saying, like, what should we do, right? How can we mitigate this? Should we give up? And no, they didn't want to give up, right? Because now $75 million is $115 million, it's $500 million, it's $1 billion. It's been 10 years, it's been 12 years, it's been 15 years, and this project is not getting any closer to seeing the light of day. So, and people didn't want to admit they're wrong, right? They don't want to throw away the time and money and the energy invested. And it's hard to admit that you're wrong, or maybe you went down the wrong path, or especially that you've been down the wrong path for an extended period of time. And so versus, I'm going to tell you the final result, right? Versus cutting your losses and quitting while you're ahead, taking the lessons, right? Remember, the blessings are in the lessons, taking the lessons from the path that you've been on so far, recalibrating and taking that wisdom and those blessings with you down the right path, right? The right path for you. Right. So the Shoreham nuclear power plant, right? So again, 75 million, the original plan was $75 million over 7 years. It ended up costing $5.5 billion over 23 years, and it never saw the light of day. Okay. It never saw the light of day because it wasn't meant to be. Right. So I'm sure there's a lot of lessons in that for the people involved. And the lessons for, like for me and my clients is follow your heart, that the universe is going to guide you to what's meant for you. And if something is really hard and painful and an uphill battle, that's usually a pretty good indication that you're on the wrong path. Wrong meaning the universe has something better in store for you. So you might be thinking, how can you tell the difference? This is where being connected to yourself, your inner knowing, your guidance, God allows you to pretty early on, right? Ideally, the sooner the better, to know whether or not you're on the right path, right? To continue to follow that path. And this also includes relationships, right? So relationships, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many experts, should not be hard, right? That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be growth opportunities and challenges along the way, but what's meant for us should be joyful, right? It should be joyful and relatively easy and effortless, even when we're experiencing those growth spurts and those growth opportunities. So how do you know the difference? Meditation and release work, right? Spending time in stillness, spending time with yourself, spending time with God, right? So meditation and prayer is the best way to do that. Ideally, silent meditation. I'll put my meditation starter kit somewhere in this post, depending on where you're watching it. And release work, right? So release work, the kind of badass, powerful release work I do, my primordial timeline process, you need me for. And eventually, after we've done it enough, then eventually you can do it on your own. I set you up to be able to do it on your own eventually. So, and what that does is, the release work. So the meditation clears out space, to allow you to be able to hear your inner voice and feel that knowing, to know whether you're on the right path or not. And release work also eliminates that conditioning, those other voices, gets rid of those other voices, ego, people in your head, society and culture saying this is what you should do, like finish what you start and do it no matter what, do whatever it takes to achieve your goals. So if your goals are in alignment, I definitely believe that you should do whatever it takes, right? That you want to do whatever it takes to accomplish them. But if they're not, we need to know when it's time to throw in the towel and quit and cut your losses and move in the direction that's meant for you. Again, meditation release work is the best and most powerful way to accomplish that knowing, in my opinion. So meditation, you can start meditating on your own. The meditation starter kit link is going to be in this post somewhere. And if you know you're ready to go all in, right, and clear out all that stuff, face your demons, and you want my help with that, just send me a private message and we can connect and see what that looks like, right? See if we're a good fit to work together. So I hope this serves you. I think that's it. I have one more story. I'll talk about not finishing what you start another someplace else because I think this has been long enough. So I hope this serves you. I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. And until then, I'll see you in the gap. I love you.